Hey everyone, we are back for another exciting episode with a few guest hosts this week for our March Madness Sport of the Arts version, breaking down some of the best shows we've seen this season. We'll also find out what made Steven say...
Yeah, and it's so artistic too. There's so much more going on here than I really see in most percussion shows.
And why Thom said...
They're just geniuses over there with their designs. It's such a great team over there.
All this and more on this week's episode of On a Water Break.
Let's go. Set it up.
Top of the show.
Form, check form. Cover down. Do it again. Run it back. And we'll see you at the show.
Welcome to another episode of On a Water Break, the podcast where we talk about everything you and your friends are talking about at rehearsal on a water break. March is Women's History Month, and we'll be celebrating all month long with amazing guests, fun interviews, and maybe we'll learn a bit as we go. It's also Music in Our Schools Month, so let's get right into it. Today, we are going to do a little March Madness of our own. We all know this is the time of the season where people start to get a little edgy and a little excited about how their season is going. Everyone on this podcast has been there, and we want you to know that you are not alone. We're about at the mid-season mark for most of the 2023 indoor season, and we want to take this time to maybe spread a little joy and a little knowledge that can help you get through this part of the season. So let's check in and see who's on the sidelines this week. Thom.
Hello. And of course, it is sunny again here in California. Not for long, though. We're going to have another round of rain coming.
Good. I need to see some rain out in Cali. Hey, Steven.
Hey, Jackie. Cloudy, dismal, and cold in Philadelphia, but happy to be here.
Nice.
That's more like it. Oh, and look who finally showed up. Justin. I sure hope you brought Starbucks for everybody.
Okay, I am so... let me catch my breath. I am so sorry. You know, it is spring break kicking down here in Florida land, and, you know, working for the mouse, sometimes it's just really, really hard to get back home. So, I apologize. I did not have enough time for Starbucks, but I have cupcakes. I brought cupcakes. Everyone gets a cupcake. Everyone's going to be just fine.
I'm easily wowed with a cupcake, so.
Yeah. Actually, you have been here before. We might need to start calling you a regular. But, and more importantly, I think, how are you doing? And what have you been up to recently?
Well, 2 weeks as of today, 2 weeks ago, I pushed out a little 8-pound, 2-ounce baby. So, yeah. So we're doing good, you know, just hanging out and enjoying this sweet postpartum time and getting ready to move to Washington in a few weeks.
Beautiful.
Ooh, Washington
nice.
area groups, you hear that? Ashley is coming your way.
Dun.
Looking at you, Cascades.
We have another guest host this week who, dare I say, she is an icon in Canadian color guard. She is the director of Les Eclipse, among many other accomplishments. Well, let her brag about it in just a second. Please welcome Cynthia Bernard.
All right, Cynthia. We've started a new thing with our guests. We call it the 32 Count Life Story, and we want to hear everything about you from birth until now, including all the juicy stuff in excruciating detail. But you only have 32 counts to do it. You think you can do it?
Sure, yeah. Let's try it.
No pressure.
All right. You'll have a slow 4-count prep off the Met, and then you'll be in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Set.
I think that's here. So I am from Laval, Quebec, Canada. What's going on? Oh, no, you're counting off. So I am born in a gym in color guard. My parents met when they were 13 in a drum corps that my grandmother founded, and they've been together ever since. I started performing I was 8. I did my first WGI finals I was 10. And when my group folded, I moved to Third Legend, Sonor. I taught there, I directed there, I was a designer there, and now I'm part of one of the three amazing directors of Les Eclipse. that's it. And I am a mom too, but I
I
pushed her
wish.
5 years ago.
Oh my gosh, I wish I had a screenshot of everyone's faces and their mouths just dropping further and further. That was amazing.
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to do it. I would have been focused on the Met.
I mean, yeah.
WGI finals at 10. That's crazy. I
Yes,
can't
it is.
believe that.
It
How are
is.
you not tired of color guard yet?
Oh my God. I think I don't know. I don't know. I
It's
don't
just
know
who
how
you
to,
are, huh?
it's who I am. It's in my blood. It's in my DNA. I'm legit born into this activity.
Wow.
And I'm one of those kids that, I mean, I'm not the only one that color guard was a family thing. My dad was a director. He was a drill writer. My mom was a tech. My grandmother was the founder of the guard I was in. My cousin was my captain. So it was a 24/7 thing. And when my dad folded the group, I hated him for 2 years in a row, which was the 2 worst years of my life because I paused color guard. And then I went to Third Legend and I found out what was, because everyone says that color guard, their group or their family, where it was legit my thing. And when I moved to another group where I had no siblings, I think that's where I fell in love with really what it means to have a village and a community and to be there for the greater good. And when I started teaching, I realized that that's what I like. I like teaching so much more than performing. So I think moving from a position to another and changing a little bit what the relationship is with the activity by moving what I'm doing, is that my responsibilities? I think that's why I'm not tired of it yet.
That's so awesome. But would you say then that like that transition from like the performing side into like the directing side was when it really hit you like, this is my passion, this is what I'm going to do?
When I started to teach, I started, for you guys, it's on the later end because I started to teach when I was 20 about. But for us, there was just no opportunity to teach anywhere. And there was great designers that have been around for so long. And the turnover of staff happened maybe 5 years ago. And I'm 38. So that's maybe. And the first time I ran a tech block, I was like, all right, that's it. And it's not because I was good at it. It's because I realized that as a performer, the thing that I liked the least was performing. So then it was like, all right, well then I'm on the wrong side of the tarp. And there was one member early on that said that I was woke before the woke era happened. And and in the past life, I was also in the summer, I was not doing drum corps, I was a football coach. So,
Wow.
so I think
Okay.
I mean, everyone's learning something. So I think putting sports psychology with the thing that is in my DNA just made sense. And yeah.
So I have no idea what color guard looks like in Canada. Could you maybe paint us a picture of, how many groups go? What is the season looking like in Canada right now?
Well, in Quebec in particular, it's, first of all, we start really earlier than you guys. We start beginning of September.
Oh, wow.
I would love to start in September.
We start in September, but we don't look that prepared. And I'm not bashing no one. I'm a director, but we don't look more prepared than you guys. But yeah, so we start in September, so that's a little different. And the I don't know how to say that see my English, the basin, the amount of people that we can go reach in is so little. I think that's the biggest difference that we have. We don't have marching band, we don't have color guards, so the people that we have right now are kids of kids of kids of kids that march, and to a certain point there's less kids than there were. So
And they're all independent groups, correct?
there's one, well, in Quebec, because I the rest of Canada I don't know. It's quite a
I don't think any of us do.
but in Quebec there's only one high school. I taught there for 10-12 years. There's one high school and it's a great place to go get kids, but depending on the staff they just follow along to the independent group, but they don't perform at WGI because there's a rule anyway that doesn't allow us to perform in scholastic classes as international. But yeah, they're all independent, but they're really good. I mean, we have, I don't know, I think it's 2 cadet, 2 regional A, 2 A's, 1 open. Seniors are a big thing. That's where the staff go. They go on the tarp and they perform.
So you guys have a local circuit and there's, a dozen groups every weekend. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then we do regionals depending on who and what color guard, but we do 1 to 2 regionals and third legend open class and Lazy Clips A do WGI championship.
It's so cool. It's so refreshing to see a different take on Winter Garden, a different take on this activity than the exact way that we do it every single year. It is time for our little segment that we like to call Winter Watch. Each week we will have our hosts and correspondents fanning out around the country to keep us up on what's going on with the winter activity. Since this week we are mostly talking about out indoor, we thought we would get the last weekend recaps taken care of right up front. Now, Cindy is headed to the Dallas Regional this weekend, so her recap for that will be coming next week. But Justin has us all covered. So, what do you got, Justin?
All right. So it was another great weekend, of course, for Winter Guards and WGI across the nation with shows at Union City, California, Richmond, Virginia, Bakersfield, California, Bellevue, Nebraska, Phoenix, Arizona. So many places. Now my breakdown is going to be more analytical than you're used to hearing. Cindy's really great about talking to the shows and all that. I, being a judge, more a little on the score sides of things. But I promise I'm going to do my best to keep it fun. So I want to start in by diving in this week with the Bellevue, Nebraska competition, where all of our winners from each class were reaching into the 80s, which is so awesome to see at this stage in the season. With our regional A groups even really putting up a showing and putting up some nice spreads in the class, with Bellevue East High School JV taking first place with an 82.24, being 5 points above second place Hickman High School there. Independent Regional A found Malachi Regional A breaking into the 80s with an 80.01. It's only that, 100th of a point, but hey, they got into the 80s this time of the year. It's awesome to see for sure. Making our way to the Scholastic A class, we saw Liberty High School from Missouri winning the class with an 81.5, another solid 80s score. But close on their heels was Sioux Falls Lincoln High School at an 80.9. So, as usual with Class A, no matter where you compete, always a super close race to the top there. Independent A saw a clear winner through with Lakeville South High School. Bellevue East High School may have been the only open class contender there, but they came in with a solid 76.7 score. Always great to see there. Heading over to the Phoenix show, there was a super tight race in the Scholastic A class with Mountain Ridge High School and San Marcos High School and Corona del Sol High School being the top three, but all within a point of each other. Now that's a great thing to see, because when we see that just means that all three groups have amazing shows and each had a stellar run, making the job really hard for the judges to place them. And with any other panel, those placings could have been different. So it's a big congrats to those performers and the staff for putting out great shows, making it hard on us judges to try to figure out who is the top of the crop there. And then let's see here, Palm Desert High School and Chino High School and Scholastic World also were within a point of each other. Again, just making it so hard for us judging them and trying to figure out who indeed is on top. Different panel, could have been different results. And personally, that's what I love to see. I love to see when the groups are out there giving great shows, great performances, making it hard for the judges to really figure out who's on top. So we love to see it at this stage in the season. Let's see here. Some highlights from the Richmond show would be, again, Scholastic A class. They're a solid 84.47 coming from first place Grassfield High School, clearly leading the pack with second place being 2 points behind them, that being Holly Springs High School. And then, of course, an independent world class over their first flight, putting out an 80.3, reminding us just how great of a program they have over there. Final highlights I got here is going to come from the Union City. We have the always entertaining James Logan High School coming out, putting up a solid 75.65 over there in Scholastic World. But the big fight was, like the trend as we've seen, is in Class A, where we had some great scores from Granite Bay High School with an 82.92 for first. Amador Valley High School with a 79.97 for second, and Golden Valley High School coming in third with a 78.03. So still pretty close. It's only mid-season. All of those places could change at any moment. But so many amazing groups out there, just once again showing how great the activity is, out there having fun, telling us stories, and making us feel all the emotions while watching. I know I'm excited to see shows live this Saturday at the Palm Beach, Florida competition, WGI. And I'm hoping that I'm going to see some of you guys out there. So, yeah, that's the weekend color guard.
All right, Steven is back with a percussion recap. Lots happening over there. So what's going on with those drummers, Steven?
Yeah, we had 5 different regionals this last weekend, kind of a big regional, the same way it was for color guard. In Avondale, Arizona, Flux Indoor Percussion scored an 83.35 in PIW to win their unit. Vision Percussion swept all captions for PIO, scored an 85.6. Foothill High School won PSO with a score of 83.05, and Williams Field High School won PSA with an 84.425. Something I thought was interesting about all the regionals mostly for this weekend is it was in a lot of sort of underrepresented areas of the country as far as like how many programs are out there. So that one was in Arizona. Our next show was over in Utah, in Kaysville, Utah, where Ogden High School won PSA with a 78.7, but Nebo School District Combined Schools actually received a higher sub score of 79.1, but they had a 1-point penalty at finals. So clearly some interesting little races going on over there in Utah. Lone Peak High School was able to win PSO with a 78.55, and Gold Spike Percussion won Independent Open with a score of 76.4. Moving a little further east to Denver, Colorado, Centaurus High School won PSA with a score of 86.35. Fossil Ridge High School won PSO with an 80.05. And the Blue Knights won PIW with a score of 85. And I absolutely love hearing about the Blue Knights Indoor Percussion Ensemble. I feel like they are underrepresented and everyone forgets that they exist. But I don't, and I love them.
For sure. They're like MCM, they're a staple of indoor percussion. They were there from the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah, going way back. Those old Mike Nevin pits.
Yep.
Blue Knights Indoor Percussion, they really set the stage. They walked so we all could run. But at Knoxville High School, well, I don't know which high school, but in Knoxville, Tennessee, Oak Ridge High School won PSA with a score of 83.15. Ravenwood High School won PSO with a score of 85.45. Sparkman High School won PSW with a score of 85. And Audio Theater won PIW with a score of 80.25. Now, our largest regional of this weekend took place in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Over here, we had Vanderbilt High School winning PSA with a score of 80.9. Pace High School won PSO with a score of 81.45. Petal High School won PSW with a score of 81.25. And we actually had 4 independent world ensembles go out to compete. So in last place in PIW, we had Strike scoring a 78.25, followed by Infinity 2, who's doing pretty well. So it seems after getting bumped to world class, they scored a 78.9. Followed by Infinity's main world class ensemble. They came in second place with an 84.6. Then, like Tom was just mentioning, perennial favorite Music City Mystique rounds out the contest, sweeping all the captions. They scored an 88.55.
And that's a cool show.
Yeah, Plastique. I like it. I like it.
I do too, yeah.
Sometimes I get a little biased about MCM having Marched Rhythm X, but I think it's a good MCM year. It's a fun show.
Both of those shows are good this year, to be honest.
They are, and that Rhythm X snare line is something. They have some crazy music, and they're super clean early. I'm excited to watch the show continue to develop, but they already have the hands, so we'll see where it goes. But that wraps up WGI regionals. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention what happened in California, though. At a SCPA competition in Temecula, California, we saw a lot of great ensembles go head-to-head for the first time. In PSA, Escondido Union High School won first place out of 12 different units with a score of 82.6. In PSO, Great Oak High School took the W at their home show. They scored an 84. In PSW, Ayala won with a score of 89.25. However, Vista Marietta High School beat them in their sub score prior to receiving a penalty. And it's been a long time since we've seen a shakeup of any of the different Ayala, Chino Hills schools
Was
really
Chino
doing well.
not there, or?
Chino?
Yeah.
No, they didn't compete this weekend, unfortunately.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, Vista Marietta was able to beat Ayala in sub-score. So I'm just interested to see another ensemble over there kind of pierce into that top echelon of Scholastic world. But I saved the best for last. We saw all of our favorite SoCal PIW groups go head-to-head for the first time of the year at this Temecula show. So in 5th place, we had Vessel, who scored an 82.25. Then in 4th, we had Gold Indoor Percussion, who scored an 87.55, which is honestly not shabby at all. That's a pretty good score. Now I'll overshadow that with the behemoths of our California groups. So in 3rd place, we had Broken City, who scored a 91.6. And now that they have some videos available online, I can confidently say that Broken City is playing some cool, interesting things this year. Drum nerds need to go check out a video of their snare line. They play this like diddle shots thing, which I thought was kind of really sick. But anyway, in 2nd place, then we have RCC, who scored a 92.2. And I haven't been able to find a video of their show yet, but I promise you all, their drum set player is the truth, and I don't know if you can handle the truth, but you should check out that RCC video for that.
What is a diddle shot?
You're gonna have to watch Broken City's snare feature and see it.
You gotta, Becky, come on, get out there.
It's like playing a roll, but they play it with rim shots. Which I haven't really seen anyone do. Maybe it's seen it in like an I&E or something. But
what's a roll and what's a rim shot?
It's just really fast and there's a lot of noise and it's loud.
Oh, okay. A lot of noise and loud. So it's drumming.
Yes.
Like tossing an 11 and then doing like a 360 under it.
Okay.
It's impressive. Clearly, I can't explain it well enough. Maybe you should just watch the Broken City guys do it.
I love like it was a bunch of noise.
Essentially, it's kind of what it sounds like. But this just still leaves one ensemble, Pulse Percussion, to take home the gold medal at last weekend's show. They managed to score a 93.2 and won every single caption except for the overall effect sub-caption of music effect. But otherwise, they swept it all and scored a 93.2, proving themselves to still be absolutely dominant.
They might be. They might have might not have anybody chasing them right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it was a little closer between Broken City and RCC than it was to Pulse this week. But we'll see. Everything can change when it gets to Dayton. Nothing really matters until you get there.
Everybody is sticking around after this quick rehearsal chunk, so we can talk about our favorite shows. Get back out on the floor. Cynthia wants to work with the sabers. Ashley, hopefully you got the dancers. Steven, will you grab the rifles? All you got to do is count them off.
Do you really want me to? Okay, all right.
I'll go over there and make sure he's got it. It's fine.
No. Tom, go with the flags, but Justin, I love chaos too much. You and I are going to go take care of the drum line.
Ooh, I love it. I'm on my way.
Hey, this is Nicole, one of your hosts for On a Water Break, and I want to tell you about the Cookout. The Cookout is an event celebrating people of color in Color Guard. This event is happening in Dayton, Ohio, April 16th, the day after WGI Finals at the Courtyard Marriott Hotel, aka headquarters. There will be presenters and speakers, networking opportunities, food, and more. To get more information on how to get your tickets to go to the Cookout, visit marchingcookout.com or visit our Instagram, it's the Cookout CG, or our Facebook page, The Cookout. We can't wait to see you there.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
Shop our extensive consignment inventory for great looks for your team that won't break your budget. Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
Check out our fun merchandise and gift items.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs. Contact us for custom show design services.
Clean out your storage areas and get money back into your budget with our consignment program.
Guard Closet is here to help you get all you want and need this winter season.
Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
We all know those sports people over there with the big orange balls are worried about their brackets falling apart. But when we get to use the courts, we're worried about an entire show falling apart. Or maybe just our performers. Either way, we're at the mid-season place for our winter activities, and we thought it may be fun to dive into some shows that our hosts are in love with. Now, all the shows we will be talking about are available on YouTube, and we will put the links in the description so you can find them and let us know what you think. I'll start us off. The group that I am so excited to be talking about today is from Orlando. It is Haggerty High School. The show that they're performing this year is actually the show that they did in 2020. So the season that we got cut off, they're going back to that show and decided to go ahead and push it through. But yeah, if you guys have watched this, it's actually been featured on the FFCC social media as well. So I thought that was pretty cool to get to see them there. And their whole entire team is juniors and under. So there isn't a single person who's on the team who was in the original performance in 2020. So Justin, have you got to see them live down there in Orlando?
Girl, I haven't just seen them live. I've been in there working and helping and building that show. I'm a part of that team.
I mean, I suspected, though. I didn't want to, just call you out for it.
Well, sure. I mean, our mutual friend, Hawken, he hit me up and he's like, hey, would it be crazy to do the show that I didn't get to actually do because of COVID? And I was like, I don't think that's crazy. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I'm digging it, so let's do it. As someone who wasn't a part of the first version, to just come in and kind of be that guiding voice to be like, well, what if you did it this way? Or what if we did it this way? And taking his vision and just amplifying it, and for him to finally get to see it live. Like, it's so great to watch those kids perform too. I mean, I could talk for another hour on that. And I know we've got other shows to talk about, but like Jackie, when you said that was your show that you were going to talk about, I was like, oh, okay, well, she's taking my show. I don't know what to talk about. But no, it's great. There are some videos out there, of course. Definitely give it a look. Because it's not always about the groups that are in the bigger classes.
Yeah.
All the classes put on such awesome shows, and it's just so fun.
I love my little class guards, and that's kind of always where my heart has been, coming from that sort of background myself, and working with so many different little guards.
It's just so cool, and it's just really awesome. Like, I love working with those groups who are grassroots and do everything themselves. So it's also been so much fun just to get back into it and get your hands dirty.
Well,
again, I could talk about it for hours. I'm gonna stop.
If anybody saw them last year, seeing the show that they did last year, they did the Big Sorry board, and it was Quit Playing Games with My Heart by the Backstreet Boys. So this is such a different flavor, and it's beautiful to see these performers develop through these different genres. So I just have been in love with watching them throughout this season, and granted, I'm only watching through video. I'm not actually there in person, but just getting to see that is really cool.
I'm gonna need to go back and watch the show from last year. That sounds so cute.
It was so cute.
Oh my gosh, it was so cute. So many kids on a little sorry board. You will but it was so cute, so cute.
I mean, the 2022 and having the season getting cut so short, that for the kid, I mean, we were so focused on the kids, but the designers that have shows that didn't ever show up to WGI Championship is heartbreaking, and we're not the focus. The kids are the focus. But you said that, and I have goosebumps, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of designers that just felt a lot of griefs with their show. So bringing it back that makes sense. It does. It's want to copy this. I want to do my
Do
my
it.
2020.
Do your
You know?
2020
Yeah,
show,
do
Cynthia.
it, Cynthia. Absolutely, because I had the same response. He came to me and was like, "Would it be crazy?" And I'm like, "Yes, but you must do it."
That's actually something that we talked about doing last year at Spintronics when we decided to go
Mhm.
world, and it was like, man, we could go back and redo the 2020 show because we didn't get to finish it, but we had all these other ideas and these things to move forward, and it's just like, man, what could that 2020 show have been if we had been able to finish it out? I don't know. What about on the percussion side of things, Steven? What do you got for us?
Yeah, my show that I just keep really enjoying is Infinity's show this year.
Yes.
Speaking about Infinity 1 at least, I know that Infinity 2 is also just killer right now. But they do a show where they move around all these big, like, sort of white pieces of paper, they look like, and they have maybe like 14 of these big judge blocker style props that they're moving around. And with that, they get to like restage the floor constantly, and they're always hiding the members that you're not supposed to watch. Um, I'm still trying to figure out what the different drawings mean as they're like drawing onto the pieces of papers with throughout the length of the show. Um, right now, I just think it's like a really fun show visually, just the way that they get to like weave their performers in and out of the scene. And they have some like really awesome, really cool section features. Like their cymbal line is great. They bring out, so it's just the top two bass drummers at one point, which that's my bag. That's what I've always done. So I love seeing a moment like that where it's just the top two out on the floor and there's no one else to watch or pay attention to. I feel like this show that they're doing is one of the most like fun and well designed shows that I've seen this year. Has anyone else gotten to see that?
Yeah, I have. It's the whole Infinity program. 1, 2, 3, 12. I don't know how many they have. Like, they're just geniuses over there with their designs. It's such great team over there.
Yeah, and I like it too. They're not like trying to be derivative of some other like trend in show design. It just seems like they're doing what they do well, which is like making a fun program. So
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, good story and yeah, well done on all levels. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm literally watching it on my phone while we're talking about it, and I am mesmerized. It's always fun with moving props. I'm always a fan, especially when it's done well. And just the cool kind of like peekaboos and the like disappearing and reappearing. Like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, so simple, but so effective. And that's like my favorite things when I'm watching any shows, whether that be, our Wins friends, percussion, guard, no matter what, like effects done well, I'm in all the time.
Yeah.
And now I'm super intrigued about these pictures too, and I can't stop staring at them, trying to decipher what the message is. There's gotta be a message. There's always a hidden message.
To be something to it, right? I've actually thought sometimes that props and how you use them are the only thing you could do to really make your show unique, because everyone else is going to be, drumming on snare drums, drumming on bass drums, and having a front ensemble. To some extent, the only thing that actually is different about all these shows is the props. So, and the costuming. So I always think
how you use
the
them, though. It really is.
Yeah, and how you use them.
I've seen groups go way over the top, and the performance itself, unfortunately, wasn't, up to the prop level.
Right. Yeah. You can't sacrifice one for the other, but I definitely think like fun and new exciting usage of props is really cool.
Cynthia, which show is absolutely amazing to you this year?
For people that know me, I was trying to find another group, but I've been a fan of Onyx since the beginning of the 90s. Actually, I don't know when Onyx was created, but I think about 896 and Bohemian Rhapsody and whatever for the people that have access to those videos and remember this. And this year, when I stumbled upon the video, I was really, really happy to see kind of the two styles of Michael Lenz coming together, and in his more classical, minimalistic uniform and field and all that, but is more upbeat, still classic and orchestral.
Orchestral, that's good.
Thank you. Music, but a little bit more upbeat. And then when you just watch this, and there's one thing that I learned when I was going to school, and it always said that the public is always smarter than the creator. And that means that as a unit, the public is always going to know more than just one person, even though it's your show and it's your program and it's your And so I like to think that I see things that I think that was the intent. And maybe it is, maybe it's not. But it's a show about Trentala, which is a dance, a folklore dance. And if I'm going too deep, I'm really analytics about things. So maybe that's not interesting. But
this is what we love here.
No, it's
so
pretty
keep it
interesting.
going.
Right? Keep going.
So, Tarantella is a folklore dance from Italy, and from all folklore dance. Sorry, it comes from like a story, and the story is that a girl got beaten by a tarantula, and then there's two branches that says that girl starts to dance and kind of go crazy and dance faster and faster and faster, and that's because of the bite. And the other branch says that it's because she needs to dance and dance and dance to kind of sweat off the venom, right? And so then and that's the folklore of it. So when you see the show, there's tarantulas. The girl that starts, she looks like a spider. And then you see spider-like movement here and there. But that's also mixes with very classic folklore footwork under tosses. And other moments, really, really contemporary onyx movement that is not related to the folklore itself, but just to the idea that the movement goes crazy and crazy and it just gets to a chaotic place. So I think it's really, really interesting to see that show. And then there's other things about like the folklore when you go in a family and you dance that dance, it's in a circle, and then there's a couple in the middle that dances. So then there's a circle at a point where there's a soloist, and then it opens up because that's how the folklore kind of moved to shows where it was a family dancing in a circle. I'm doing hand movement and no one can see me, but family would dance in a circle, but then to do a show, it opens up in a half circle, right? So then the circle opens up to half circle, but it's always a soloist that goes in the middle. So, I mean, I don't have Michael Ince on my phone, but I think that's what he thought of doing, or at least that's what I see. And I think it's really, really interesting. And not just to say that in movement, if you're, I don't know who can surpass them. They have a really good balance between doing really classical thing that will score on the sheet without a doubt, because it's like so obvious, so there, so well done, and then really awkward movements, but are done everyone the same way. So it scars also because they have the training, but then you can bring something really different. So I'm just really happy to see that program in the field. And I like the way that Michael Ince kind of goes and does, I think, research to other artists and other things that we can go and research and get more knowledge on. So I love the program this year, and I cannot wait to see them. And they look like 100 people on
Oh my
the
gosh,
floor.
they do.
Yeah, I'm actually watching them now, and I'm really happy that you pointed out all that stuff because I would not have gotten that on my
Absolutely
own.
not. No.
No chance. But when I pointed out, I can totally see. You talk about like the tarantula kind of movements being done by some members on the floor. Meanwhile, there's other members doing more classic, like sort of color guard dance styles, and it makes this like contrast that's really visually interesting. Just to watch as a performance. I think when you combine the fact that the floor is white or it's black with the members, and then you have members that are either doing this sort of like arachnid sort of movement, or you have members that are doing more classical artistic like elements of dance, you get this like sort of contrast that I feel like the program is about in some sense from like what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
Even down to the idea that like it's about a woman fighting a tarantula, you kind of have this struggle between two ideas like being the center stage of this program.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that it comes from something that is so historic. Like it's so weird to have a folklore and then a tarantula, but to make sense of it, and because I mean,
yeah, and it's so artistic too. There's so much more like going on here than I really see in most percussion shows. Tom, which show were you watching this week? What do you think's your favorite one this year?
Well, so when Jeremy texted me, "What's your favorite show?" I like screamed and went, "Escapade 1995," and then I read the rest of the message this year. I said, "Oh, my favorite group right now this year, and it's in line with Steven, is Infinity 2. They're doing Sweeney
Mhm.
Todd. It's a visual
I
delight.
love Sweeney Todd.
It's
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's such a clever visual show, and I think that's what got them pushed up to world class. Just the design of it is right on par, and it's, even if you're not into drumming, the visual presentation alone, you know what's going on all the time. You're not like, you don't lose sense of the show. You're like, oh, okay, this kind of falls off the track for a second. No, it doesn't. You're just drawn in by everything happening the entire time. So well done to the Infinity team. Those guys are kicking butt over there.
Yeah, I was watching the show and I was wondering not where they were going, because the story is obvious from the get-go, but like how they build. I was like, how are they going to have an ending? And then the ending, you need to go see, but the ending is so cool, so well done. But
Yeah, talk about use of props. They have a good one in the show,
Mm.
and they have a few that move that I thought was really cool. Moving props are always fun.
Yeah, I'm swiping along the show now to try to see the moving part. Do you know like where in the show that is? Is it near the middle, the end?
I want to say it's probably towards the end. I think when the props start moving.
Oh, okay. I see something going on over there. A lot
They
happens.
bring it right up front stage for you. It's really clever.
Uh-huh.
How they use symbols as a, how do you call them?
Like a, yeah.
Like a platter, like a serving platter, like maybe
a
like
serving
waitresses would have or whatever.
platter?
Yeah, really fun show.
Yeah.
And you can tell the members like enjoy performing this show.
Oh, yeah.
So how old would be those members? Like around?
Infinity 2 probably still has a lot of 18 to 21-year-olds. There might be a couple high schoolers, but in percussion, the age group tends to run a little higher.
Yeah, I
feel.
think their third group, if they still have it, I think is the younger kids, the high schoolers. But again, it's in Florida, where there's like Texas, 9 million programs. That's so awesome. So
Of course, Cindy sent in her pick for this year, so let's jump to Cindy.
All right, y'all. I want to talk about a really cool show. In fact, it's called The Origin of Cool. And the cool factor in this show is over the top. I'm talking about Tarpon Springs and their amazing world-class show this season. And I have to say that we are very possibly looking at your gold medalist. I know the prediction's coming a little early, but they are scoring some pretty incredible scores already this season, and it's going to be tough to beat these kids, and for good reason. They are just doing some amazing stunts, but not only that, the show is just so entertaining, and they have also pulled in some kids from the band, and like they got a little small jazz band going on while the girls are out there throwing all the things. In the middle of all that, they've got a guy with a trumpet and a trombone and some cool jazz sounds, of course. And just when you think it can't get any cooler, the musicians themselves do some pretty cool moves too. So it's really neat how they've incorporated some of the band students in with this world-class guard. And that's just a world-class organization, really. And I hate that I'm not going to get a chance to see this show live anytime before April, but I know it is going to be a real treat. And I'm thinking we might see a new record high score. I don't know. It's really, really good, y'all.
Yeah, I was watching it and I was thinking about, how there's so many ways that you can spin the idea of cool and, visually what would that look like. So it was really interesting to me. I get a lot of Blue Devils vibes. I think circa maybe 2003, and just like the clean cut of the costumes, and I really love that palette that they use too. I don't know. I think what stands out to me the most is just in the vocabulary of the movement and how the kids do just the tiniest little nuances. That's what eludes the idea of cool to me. And I mean, I would just echo everything that Cindy said. It was great. So that's definitely my fan favorite for this year.
I mean, I would agree that, it's great. They always put out great shows. I love the fact that, we've got the band kids out there and all that. But if I'm going to be the one that doesn't fully agree with everything. Oh gosh, everything that Cindy said. And it might be because I'm a little biased, but I have to throw out there the just pure amazingness that Avon High School's show over in Indiana is this year. It's called Jane Bond, playing on the whole like James Bond thing.
Oh, cute.
But if you watch it, and if it's one of those, and this is what I love about Daniel Wiles when he puts on shows and all that, he always throws in like all of the research and everything. So if you watch it starts off with this huge homage where he just does so many things that the Cavaliers did when they did their James Bond show, including the different exchanges. They create the same drills. It looks very simplistic, but if you know your shows and you know your history, you're just watching it going, oh my gosh, they are out there doing basically exactly what the Cavaliers did. And then he takes it from there, and it starts to meld into like you can literally watch the changes of Color Guard and Winter Guard throughout the years. And I like Cynthia using my hands so no one can see them. But it starts with the old classics. It melds into that era of where it was all about, what skills you can do. And then it starts throwing in the body into it. And then we've got moving props. It moves itself into the here and now. And where I can understand that we think that, Tarpon Springs might win with their cool show. I disagree. I think Avon is going to pull it out on top again. And I may be a little biased, but they're hitting all of my favorites right there where I can reminisce about the old shows. I can see, elements in there from old Avon shows, and then just to see the big impact at the end with all the cool tricks and throw-ins and toss-ins and everyone's catching everybody else's stuff.
The amount of gymnastics that both of these groups are accomplishing it just blows my mind.
You know what, guys, though, real quick, Justin, you're right, Avon's show is awesome. But the cool thing about Tarpon Springs show being a musician is they have a live drum set player playing to a track, which is pretty cool.
I'm not, absolutely a percussionist myself. I loved it when I first saw it and saw the drum set and all that. But like I said, I might have a little bit of bias. I think my friends over in Avon are going to take it again, but that's just me.
And then the thing that is interesting is that if you put that to judges' sheet, the fact that the drum goes on the music is cool, but I don't think it will score as high in DA than the fact that they go all the way back to James Bond, where, the judges are people that saw those 86, 87 show. Am I
absolutely
the right years?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be wrong, 83, whatever. But like, I should, yeah. But in the end, it's judges' sheets that will decide. So that's really interesting too, to see how,
Yeah, it's not always about how loud the audience cheers for what you're doing. It's about the scores. And speaking of that, we've had to talk about AMP. Cynthia, have you watched their show yet?
Oh.
Yeah, talking about screaming.
And favorite.
If anyone was in the Reno last year, it was, unbelievable. And then this year, knowing that they were going to do Alice in the Wonderland, and it's really, I've seen just a video. It's very interesting. It's interesting also how they decide their concept. They start the season not knowing what they're going to do. And then with the cast that they have, and they had a great turnout at auditions this year, they take a couple of weeks and then they decide. So the show is really, really tailored to the members and the kids that are on the field and what the story they want to tell. And obviously there's that AMP flair and that AMP technique. And those two things together, we'll see in the arena. Yeah.
Yeah, they might be one of my favorites every single year because I just love how theatrically they approach designing shows and how they perform.
Oh, I agree. It's like going to like a mini like theater show and they never fail to impress. And I could watch their show over and over and over again. Like, give me one show I have to watch, like one team that I'm allowed to watch for the rest of my life. I'm choosing AMP because they always pulled on such amazing productions, and that's really cool that they tailor it to their kids and don't pick and then choose the kids for who's going to be that best fit.
Yeah.
Instead, they pick like the best kids for their group and then build the show on that. I love that philosophy. That's always been kind of my philosophy when I'm trying to pick shows, and it's really cool to see that in an independent level.
Because I mean, right, as designers and teachers, we're already thinking about next year's shows.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I mean,
not-
I have 18 shows designed for the next 20 years, so you know.
Right? Yeah. To not pick something till this like almost season starts would have me chewed off all my fingernails.
And then you would think, like, world class, they can choose whoever they want for the persona that they want, and that's not what they do. And with AMP, the music too is like its own persona, and in G it takes so much space. And I don't know if it's the same arranger this year, but last year was Matt Blood, which is like a front ensemble person that did the mix, and he did. I hope it's still him because he created an entire. It's just a persona.
It just adds its own, like the music itself is its own performer on top of everything else. Like totally great mix. Absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, luckily we're going to get to hear even more from an inside source a little bit later on the show. I got to interview one of the captains this week, Kai Williams, and he had all sorts of insider things to tell us about how AMP works and what his experience is over there. You guys stick around. I think you'll like hearing it.
All right, everyone. We are going to go get set for the final run-throughs in just a bit. So, Justin, why don't you and Steven go work with the bass drums?
Yes.
Ashley and Cynthia head over to the cymbals. They need some work on their footwork. And I'll go with the rest of the battery with Tom. We can handle this.
Done.
Hey, this is Nicole, one of your hosts for On a Water Break, and I want to tell you about the Cookout. The Cookout is an event celebrating people of color in color guard. This event is happening in Dayton, Ohio, April 16th, the day after WGI Finals at the Courtyard Marriott Hotel, aka headquarters. There will be presenters and speakers, networking opportunities, food, and more. To get more information on how to get your tickets to go to the Cookout, visit marchingcookout.com or visit our Instagram, it's the Cookout CG, or our Facebook page, The Cookout. We can't wait to see you there.
Guard Closet was founded as a consignment business in 2000. Since then, it has grown to include winter guard, band, percussion, and other genres.
Shop our extensive consignment inventory for great looks for your team that won't break your budget. Max out your rehearsal time and set up a microsite for easy student ordering for shoes, gloves, and other equipment.
Check out our fun merchandise and gift items.
We can help you with custom flag and costuming designs. Contact us for custom show design services.
Clean out your storage areas and get money back into your budget with our consignment program.
Guard Closet is here to help you get all you want and need this winter season.
Check us out at guardcloset.com and follow us on social media.
That was a fun little Marching Arts March Madness segment. We have lots more to get on this break, so let's get right to it. Whitney is back with something to say about the mid-season edginess you may all be feeling.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Wisdom with Whitney. This week, we're going to touch on how to finish out the season strong and get over the mid-season slump. Winter Guard is a long season, especially if you are in an independent guard or you teach an independent guard or percussion program. And this time is really about getting super comfortable with your show and just making sure you're at a consistency rate of like 90 to 99%. I don't know if perfection is ever really attainable, of course, but we can get as close as possible. It is time to really dig in and clean and build as much stamina as you possibly can. When I was marching at Pride, we did this thing called Obnoxious, and it's basically small chunks of your show that you do over and over again. So, and I do it with my kids now. I know a lot of people do it with their groups. But right now I'm working on 3 reps of each chunk, about 30 seconds each chunk, 30-second chunks. So we'll do 30-second chunks, and this is all done as a standstill. You do your first 30-second chunk, do it 3 times or more. I like to start out small and work my way up to 5. 5 is probably about max because that's 5 reps of the show, and it takes a long time to get through. So you do your reps, and then you move on pretty much immediately to the next rep without giving them a ton of time between. And this is going to help build stamina. And this is, again, done as a standstill. So they're not doing drill. You're just in your spot. I also encourage being close to any partners so they can do partner choreography or lifts or anything like that. But this is really going to help with stamina and your mental strength and ability to push through and not get in your head. I think that's the other thing about right now is that some students and performers may start getting into their head about mistakes that they've made at other performances, and you just really have to encourage them to go at each performance with a fresh perspective and to have no fear, no doubt, and just to encourage themselves to be mentally tough and remind themselves that they can do it. So be extra positive, really dig in with the cleaning at this point, and I hope everybody has a wonderful end of your season, whether it ends this weekend or in a month. I hope you have a fantastic last couple of performances and can't wait to see everybody at WGI.
Thanks, Whitney. Before we get to our gush and goes, we have a new segment from our friends at the Drum Major Leadership Academy. They are going to be giving us some leadership and drum major tips each week. Take it away.
It is almost the end of March, which means that leadership auditions are quickly approaching. If you are a band director or a student that is getting ready to audition for a leadership position, make sure you take note of these quick tips. Number 1, band directors. As much as possible, it's going to be valuable to front load your leadership auditions. And what I mean by this is helping set the expectations in advance. You don't need all the details, but if you want your students to be preparing a conducting piece for drum major auditions, if you need your section leaders to do an interview, make sure they know those expectations in advance. That way they can mentally and physically prepare, and you don't have a bucket load of questions and stress later on. For students, even as you're waiting for these expectations from your band directors, now is a great time to be thinking about why you want to audition for a student leadership position, because I promise you that that question will be asked in the interview. And if you don't have a strong response or you don't have a really grounded reason, it's going to be difficult to prove that point to your band director. So start thinking, is it because you want to improve your ensemble's culture? Is it to develop some new traditions? Is it to be a great role model? Or is it something else? If you can wrap your head around that answer today or later this week, I promise that you'll be well set for leadership auditions when they come around in another month or 2. We wish you the very best in those auditions, and if you want any help preparing, feel free to reach out to the Drum Major Leadership Academy. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media at DMLA Training, or visit our website at www.dmlatraining.com.
Okay, everyone, it's gush and go time. The time in our show where our hosts get to gush and go on about anything they want having to do with the marching arts. Stephen, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, sure, Jackie. I want to give a shout out once again to my perennial favorite, Old Bridge High School, who just got promoted to Percussion Scholastic World.
Woohoo!
Making them one of the few groups over here on the East Coast to do it.
Word. Yeah, nice.
I think I'll be checking them out this weekend at the WGI Regional. I'm sure that they got great things going on.
Awesome. Cynthia, what would you like to gush and go on about?
Well, we, Les Eclipse, are trying to represent yet again Quebec in the A class this year at WGI Championship. And as everyone knows, that costs a lot of money. So if you have a buck or two, if Les Eclipse ever touched you anyway, with a performance or a member or a teacher, please consider donating to us. You just go to our website, leseclipse.org, and you go to the Don section, because it's in French, but you can still give donate without an issue, and that will help us to get to WGI Championship in April.
I need to donate because I had a roommate back when I lived in Brazil who was Canadian, and she was like became one of my best friends, and like she flew down for my wedding and all this sort of stuff. So I will be headed over there personally. Oh man.
Cool.
Ashley, do you want to gush and go?
Well, it's that time of year where I always love to give my shameless plug and talk about my leadership course that I have on my website, www.frontcenterperformance.com. I started this business because I felt like there was just a lack of leadership resources in the color guard space specifically. We all know that like band directors will do the leadership training for the entire band program, but oftentimes um, us over in color guard and even in percussion land, that content seems to kind of just wash over their heads, and it tends to become a little irrelevant sometimes. So I just like to hone in specifically on that section when it comes to my leadership training. So if you're interested, go give that a visit, and you can contact me on Instagram or Facebook if you have any questions.
All right, Tom, what about you?
All right, so I got to gush about a group from my hometown, my side of the country, although I'm not there. But Dartmouth High School once again, winter percussion. They're doing the Raven this year, and it's baller. It's really good. Those kids are just taught the best by Tom Ungst and that whole team over there. They're just so amazing. If you get a chance, watch that show. It's definitely worth it.
All right. Music in our schools month. So, for more than 30 years, March has been officially designated by the National Association for Music Education, or NAFME, for the observance of Music in Our Schools month, the time of year when music education becomes the focus of schools across the nation. The purpose of the month is to raise awareness of the importance of the music education for all children and to remind citizens that school is where all children should have access to music. March it is an opportunity for music teachers to bring their music programs to the attention of the school and the community and to display the benefits that school music brings to students of all ages. The events that surround this month are the ideal opportunities for increasing awareness of the benefits of high quality music education programs in our nation's schools. NAFME hopes that teachers, students, and music supporters alike will find ways to join in on the celebration through creative activities and advocacy. Learn more about how NAFME works to support music education on their website, nafme.org, NAFME.org.
All right. Time for this week's Performer Spotlight. This week I'll be interviewing an experienced performer from one of our favorite color guard units. We were just talking about them earlier, AMP. Everyone, welcome to the show, Kai Williams. Hey, Kai.
Hi, Steve. Nice to meet you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. I was happy to get back around. You're now the second person we've got to interview for guard. And everyone's been really excited about AMP, so I thought you would be a pretty perfect person to speak to.
Thank you. I'm really excited. This has been a great year so far. It's been a lot of fun, so I'm really excited to kind of give you guys a little bit of behind-the-scenes information and kind of
behind
build
the
the
scenes
excitement.
secrets. I usually don't push too hard, but I won't stop you. So we like to start this bit with something called your life story in 32 counts. It'll give you about 30 seconds to just tell our audience who you are, where you've marched, and a little bit of background on yourself. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready. Okay, my name is Kai Williams. I'm 25 years old. I'm from Piscataway, New Jersey. I work as a service learning coordinator in New York City. I've been involved in the activity since 2012. I started at Piscataway High School in the Scholastic Novice Winter Guard class. I've marched 3 years of Open Class DCI, 2 years of World Class, 2017 with the Crossmen, 2019 with Cadets, 2016-17 Open Class with Q Winter Guard, and 22-23 with AMP in the World Class. I'm a captain at AMP. I can spin all 3 pieces of equipment, but I prefer flag, so I consider myself to be a career flag.
There you go. Got it in just by the end there. That was a long, extensive marching career.
It's been a while. Yeah, I'm 25 now, and I'm actually the 3rd oldest on the team. And boy, I feel old. I'm so old. There's so many young people doing such like great stuff. Like one of the kids on our team is 16, and he is just like blowing me out of the water. And it's just like, wow. Now it's time to just like pass the baton on to the next generation. That's kind of
I know exactly how you feel. I'm 25 as well, and I aged out last winter since they gave the Corona bonus.
Oh,
and
nice.
I was like, that's enough.
Yeah, right. Once you like have that year when because it's nice though because you're at the certain like state like mentally where you're like developed enough where you know what you're doing, you understand what's happening around you, and I think that's also part of the problem because you're just like, wow, like this is taking up so much of my time. Like I love it so much, I really, really do, and I also teach and I want to continue teaching and stay involved in the activity. But yeah, I feel like I grew up with color guard in my life, and it's really, really shaped me for who I am today.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's very relatable, and I, as well as probably a lot of our listeners, will feel the same way. Could you tell us a little bit about AMP and what you think makes the ensemble unique?
Yeah, I think AMP is a really great group to perform with. It's unique because it's very homegrown. Like we have people on the team who've been there for 10 years. Like they definitely retain a lot of people, even between this year and last year. Like most of the cast from this year are people from last year or years prior. So I think there's just a certain kind of family dynamic that we have, as well as the instructors. Like a lot of our instructors are former members who performed there as well. So I think we kind of just like get the process. It's very hard. Like I'm not gonna lie, it is very hard work. Everybody here this season is incredibly talented, but we're all realizing, wow, this is the hardest show any of us have ever done. So I think it's just, yeah, it's really crazy. And I think it's just that it is. It's like we want that. Like we want to do well. We want to put something out there that's never been done before. And the fact that all of us who are, so incredibly talented are so incredibly challenged, I think it's just really showing that we are just continuing to push this to the next level every chance we get.
And now I'm a percussion guy, but one thing I even notice anytime I see AMP is that these shows are so theatrical compared to a lot of what we see. How do they really like train you guys to perform with such a theatric quality?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Theatrical was definitely a word that I wanted to use to describe it. Well, we really just dig into each moment. So there are just so many different layers to our show. There's so many different sections going on at once. And they always say, if you watch the show and you watch the right side of the floor, you're going to see something completely different than if you're watching the left side of the floor. So I think we really just get so in the zone with what we're doing and really like committing to that character, committing to that task that we have, that it really just it just shows. It's really like coming out from our pores with like how excited we are to do it. And I think that's also part of it too. Like we genuinely like what we're doing. We like the show. We like the people we're around. So I think like pulling that out is it doesn't feel impossible. It feels kind of natural in that way because we're having so much fun. We're actually enjoying what we're doing. So I think the fact that we're all enjoying ourselves and enjoying each other makes performing just that much more authentic and more relatable to the audience.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's not like you're trying to manufacture the feeling. You guys are all kind of actually feeling it while you do it.
Exactly.
That's cool. Well, Kai, a lot of our viewers will be familiar with this game already. We play something called March, Teach, Cut with all of our guests on the Performer Spotlight. If you could march any show, any color guard show, what would it be?
It would be Zydeco 2012, Remember the Tin Man.
Oh.
Yeah, I love that show. I think theatrical is also a word that would be used to describe that. It really, and I think the fact, I like shows that reference like other source material so that you can kind of like understand where it's going, but then take a whole new spin on it. So I really like that just sad romanticism that came from that show. And, as I said, 2012 was the year that I started marching. So it's really wild to me to look back at these shows and say like, wow, these are the shows that inspired me growing up. These are the shows that I wanted to be a part of. And now, hopefully I'm in a show that, kids today are watching and are inspired by and are making them want to push further. So I think that show and just kind of getting back to the root of what got me going all those years
Yeah.
ago is something I would love to be a part of, even today.
I feel you, because that was how I felt about my first shows I saw in 2013. And I'm sure that you are certainly inspiring the next generation of performers over there at AMP. If you could teach or design any show, which would it be?
I think it would have been Avon 2016, Crude. It was basically about oil. It was about like crude oil. And I
Oh,
just really
okay.
liked like the darkness of it. It just felt very like heavy. It felt very like melancholy, but like not in a way like, and I just like the creative way they went about it because the flags and you know how when you have like oil that spills in the ground, it kind of has like a rainbow effect.
Yeah.
Like they went with that direction. The makeup was just like oil like dripping down their face. And
Oh,
I was
yeah,
just like,
that's
oh, it
really
just felt so like,
interesting.
globby and gloopy, but just like in such a great way. And it always amazes me as well to watch like Scholastic World teams. Like you're in high school, like you are taking the SATs. Like how are you like doing all of this? So I would just have loved to have been a part of that process as well.
Yeah, that's certainly that's amazing. I'm shocked by what some of the people out in California do, the high school drum lines out there.
Oh, seriously.
And if this one's probably the hardest, if you had to cut and wipe a show from existence, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, this was such a hard question because I was like, wow, like I don't want to undermine the hard work that anybody does and how much effort they put into what they
It's
do.
incendiary.
It is. So I think if I had to choose, it would be Fantasia. I forget which year it was. I think it was like 2011 around then. It was called A Good German. And basically it was about a group of Nazis and then one of them kind of turning away from it. And it was a beautiful show, but like one of the drill forms they made was a swastika. So it's kind of like,
Oh, wow.
this show would definitely not do well today.
Yeah.
But it was pretty, like the choreography was great. And there's one flag soloist, like she was, and because everything like froze in the middle of the floor and she was just like spinning like crazy. I was like, yes, this is color guard. But I was just like, maybe the approach could have been a little different. So I think that's
she could have been just as talented in any other
doing
venue.
a show about rainbows, doing a show about Lego blocks. You know what I mean? Like I just don't think that was necessary.
Well, that's a good choice. That might be the best choice we've had yet for the cut ensemble. What do you think is your favorite video? We'll wrap up here. Your favorite video of you performing?
So I have a video, it's on my Twitter actually, and it's from last year's show. During the section of the show where it was like the chaos feature, I had a little dance solo on side 2, the front side 2 corner, and it didn't make the finals multicam. They were not interested in what I was doing because there was a really cool rifle feature going on side 1. So they were, locked into that. So, we really did not get too much time to choreograph that. They kind of just like, okay, this is your drill, like, figure it out. So I worked with one of my teammates, Serene, and she really helped me to bring that moment together. And I was just really proud of that because to me, that felt like a full circle moment because as I was marching and coming up, I didn't really believe in myself as a dancer. I didn't think that I moved very well. I was just like insecure with that. So to be given a dance solo on the front sideline pretty much, like it was great. It was a great moment to connect with the audience and to just like do my thing. So I really loved that moment. It's not on the multicam, so if you watch that, you won't see it, but I have it on my Twitter.
Okay. And what is your Twitter? What's your other social medias that we could find you on?
Yeah, so Facebook, Kai Williams, Instagram and Twitter, both of them are Kai Aaron, KAIAARON with an underscore. So Kai Aaron _, that's Instagram and that's Twitter.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, Kai, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your experience with everyone. I'm looking forward to seeing your program in April.
Thank you so much. It was so nice speaking with you, and I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Have a great night.
I've loved getting a chance to talk to Kai. He just has such a great base of knowledge about color guard, not just in our area, but even going back to the early 2010s. I loved getting to hear about all the different shows that he liked, what he would have wanted to march. And I thought he was really just a great person to bring on, get to learn a little bit more about AMP. But now that we've learned about the present, time to get our history lesson for this week. Each week, the Marching Pageantry Arts Museum folks are going to give us a little bit of history so we can know what came before us. They're working on a much larger series coming in April to On a Water Break, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. But now it's time to take a march through history. Take it away, Bill.
Hey everybody, this is Bill Ives from the Marching Pageantry Arts Museum in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, with this week's fascinating snippet of the marching pageantry history. The first costume was worn by the Jolly Jesters of Toronto, Canada in 1956. A group of servicemen in the Royal Canadian Army Service Corps wanted to perform in competitions in Canada and the United States, but because they were paid musicians in the military, they were not allowed to compete. In true drum corps fashion of how do we get around the rules, someone came up with the idea to wear clown costumes. They bought 70 different costumes at the Malabar Costume Emporium in Toronto. At their first competition, they started the show with Be a Clown, and then they all released balloons and started their show. They won the show, and the crowd loved the performance. Someone said, "Don't we make a fine bunch of Jolly Jesters?" And that's how they got their name. The Jolly Jesters of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The different costumes made for a very disjointed look in the drill, however, so they decided to make a costume that was half red and half white with a pointed cap, and a new look was born, and it was much better for the drill and gave a uniform look to a costume. But a judge told the Corps, "You will never win as clowns." And in 1960, they decided to go to a more traditional uniform. The era of the clown was over, and that's how that happened. Stay tuned to a future podcast episode for more fascinating snippets from the colorful history of this wonderful activity we call the marching arts. To learn more about the Marching Pageantry Arts Museum, go to marchingpageantryartsmuseum.org and follow us on social media.
I had no idea about this. That's so far along. That's so cool to know that it's been Canadians that pushed that forward.
It actually never shocks me. Like, Canada is such, I think it's just like a blessing of drum corps and color guard, and it's just, we don't talk about it enough, is what it really is.
No, really. I mean, when I can remember back, showing my age, a lot of the Canadian corps that I competed against and saw were always in a costume. It wasn't like a uniform like in the States were. And I always thought that was cool. Like, I could never guess who they were because it was a costume, not a uniform. So that doesn't surprise me either, That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it sounds like they were ahead of the wave of where the activity goes nowadays. Now everyone else is catching on to that costume sort of
Yep.
approach.
Yeah. There's been a few corps over the decades that have tried it and were booed, but now it's the reverse. Shako, what are you doing?
Well, we've learned about the past. Now it's time to move on to the present with some news. Of course, there are all kinds of St. Patrick's Day parades going on everywhere right now. As a matter of fact, Trevor is over in Ireland right now doing a site visit for his band Western Carolina University. They are visiting Ireland in 2024. Does anybody have any St. Patrick's Day parade stories?
I have some stories, a lot of them, but I'll only tell one real quick. Growing up on the East Coast and marching in the Boston Crusaders in the 90s, early 90s, you got wet, really wet, marching in a St. Patty's Day parade in Dorchester, Massachusetts. Cup loads of beer splashing everywhere. It was a good time. It was a good time to be underage.
But anyway, I'll take
news story.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to suggest, Jackie, is that I'll take our first story for this week. Seems like the rest of the world is catching wind to what we've known for quite some time, which is that marching band is difficult. This article posted into the Philadelphia Inquirer, it goes on and on about how the injuries sustained in marching band and color guard specifically can really be kind of ridiculous when compared to other sports. They showed a study with 1,400 collegiate marching band and guard members. Across 21 teams, 25% of them reported sustaining musculoskeletal injuries.
I believe that.
Yeah, it sounds about right to me. I'm probably part of the 25%. Another study looked at injuries sustained during just 1 week of band camp and found that the overall injury rate was 124 injuries per 1,000 practices.
Wow.
Which just doesn't sound safe when you put it that way, but I ain't going to go tell. Mellophone players, trombonists, and percussionists were at the highest risk.
That surprised me that color guard wasn't up there, especially with them like talking about the
with concussions.
Yeah.
I would have expected that.
But I think, color guard and dancers probably stretch a lot better than definitely percussion do.
That would make sense because they did add that most of the injuries are leg injuries. So
yeah.
I could see that being true.
We're propellers into the air, and I have an actual injury from my first prelims ever, my rookie year. I was doing a quad, and the rifle came down, and my little pinky just went to the 45.
Oh,
I screamed, and my tech Brittany, she had to like calm down the rest of the color guard while somebody like pushed me away so I didn't distract everyone.
That's terrifying, Ashley. My injuries are mostly internal. I'm surprised I can even be a part of this podcast with how terrible my ears are. But the article wraps up and it just shows that at times people are literally having fevers out there on the field. It found an average temperature of a maximum average temperature of 101.1 degrees. And at times, musicians' core body temps even reached 102.4 during the peaks of their performances. So,
I believe it.
Just goes to show, scientifically, nothing about this activity is easy. So,
yeah, no, the AstroTurf is like a sponge for the heat. It just bounces it back up at you. Yeah, I can remember the heat just radiating off the turf at rehearsal.
Maybe we should do DCI in Canada. What would you think about that, Cynthia?
We would love it. I mean, there's fans that want any DCI or drum corps show back in Canada, but we have turf here too, and it gets really warm in the summer too. So you would have to do it in Canada in the winter. Which that would be other injuries, other types.
Well, we learned a couple weeks ago you can do marching band on ice. So I mean, we've got the hockey bands.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I will never be able to forget about that. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. It's crazy. Ashley, what story did you bring this week?
Well, you know what's crazy is when two teams that are battling it out for who's going to be on top when it comes to a basketball tournament game. And it just so happens that over in Kentucky, Martin County High School Cardinals were playing the Lawrence County Bulldogs, and one school brought their band and the other didn't have, their band was way too small and they only go to home games. So as it turns out, the school, I believe it was Martin County, they brought their band and sat and kind of they started to befriend people from the opposing team, and by the end of the game they were tied, but they were also making friends. So there was this really beautiful story about this the sense of camaraderie, and there was this really lovely quote that I loved, and it said, they in the mountains we just take care of each other, and helping your neighbor is what has sustained us for generations. And I think it just goes to show that that's really the most beautiful part about the marching arts is we develop all these friendships across, corps and different teams. And that's certainly one of my favorite parts about being involved in color guarded marching bands. So it's really cool to see how, somebody's marching band was able to unite these two schools for such a big deal of a tournament game, so.
That's like a championship season here for Dayton out in California. All the groups piggyback on their way to Dayton with the trucks. I think that's so cool how they all share an equipment truck and whatnot and get their stuff out here. That's really rad. I like when that happens.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that reminds me of every year I see, who wants to order a Team Texas shirt, because when you go to WGI, anytime there's a Texas guard that comes out, you always hear our infamous "Deep in the Heart of Texas" chant. And
Yeah, the clap clap.
yeah. And you can even purchase a T-shirt along with it. I have no idea who is in charge of all of that, but I think that's really sweet. So I love that.
Tom, what do you have for us this week?
Most of us watch the NFL. I do. I don't ever know who's playing, but I still watch just for funsies. I love the Patriots. Anyway, this lovely student over at Eastern University wrote an article. Her name is Hannah Bonaducci. She wrote an article about should marching bands be performing at NFL halftimes. Yes, 100%. My high school, when I was a kid, we got to sign up for one Patriots game halftime performance. And they would raffle that off to whatever schools were in the raffle. And I think that would be such an awesome thing for them to bring back. Because, to all these rock groups that perform at halftime, so they pay. They pay to do it. The NFL doesn't pay them to come. So, I just think it's right what it needs to be. Yeah, nothing to them at all. And it would just be, a huge platform for this activity to get to perform, even if they only showed a minute of it, So, great article. She just, talks about her opinion of that's where it should be. And I couldn't agree more, Hannah.
Cynthia, what about you?
So I will go really local, but further, this weekend is going to be Bethlehem Regional for us and for Color Guard in general. And we have 4 groups from Quebec going this year, which is really fun. So there's going to be the Regional A from Third Legend, which actually did already the Salem Regional, and they're doing a show about bubbles. It's really nice, really well constructed. So you check that out. There's going to be the A class of Sonor that they just jumped up to A class from last year, from Regional A to A class. So it's going to be their premiere in A class since a long time. I cannot even say how long. And they're competing. Yes, good for them. They're going to be competing in A class. Third Legend has their open guard, and they're really interesting this year and really intriguing with the new type of concept for them. So that's cool. And of course, Lazy Clips A, which we do a show called Breathe In, Breathe Out. There's 10 members on the field, but they fill up that tarp like they're 20. They're really impressive for a very tiny group, I think, obviously. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see that regional. And there's quite a lot of groups in general. So we'll see who's going to move up and down from this weekend.
Oh, that sounds so much fun. Like, I miss competing so much, and hearing about it is just like, woo, let's get back out there. Hey, Justin, how about you?
Well, I've got an interesting one here. So 2 worlds that you wouldn't really put together when you would think about band in general, but wrestling and band.
What?
Now, yeah, I know when I say those 2 words together, I know in my head I have these like instruments against each other and all out brawl that we sometimes see in those high school band rooms when no one's there supervising, but that's not what this is about. So there's this really cool event that a local junior senior high school marching band fundraiser thing they do. It's called the Springdale Slam. And this is their 4th version of doing this. Apparently it's like an annual thing, and basically they put on like a professional wrestling match and like they sell tickets and concessions, and it's like this big fundraiser for this band in Pennsylvania, over in the Springdale area. It was on a 2-year hiatus because of the thing we don't talk about, but but it's just this really cool event that they've been putting on annually. They have like 700 seats, so it's like a big thing.
Wow.
With like multiple matches. Like I see here they've got like 4 different matches listed here. all different weight classes. It's a true, actual, like, professional wrestling type event.
Also, like the staff, and you get to pay to see the staff wrestle each other.
No, it's not one of those, though. I mean, I personally, if some band were to put that together, I would drive to go and see something like that. Like, seeing the staff, I mean, can you just imagine, like, the color guard staff going in after, like, the visual staff, or, you know... I mean, don't mess with us color guard people. I mean, we're some feisty people, but I could also see the percussion staff, you know, becoming the underdog winners of something like that too, because, you know, they may be off in the back just chilling, but, you know, they can surprise you sometimes too.
High tolerance for pain over
like
there.
a RuPaul drag race type and wrestling meets. When you
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just thought it was really cool to see some. I mean, bands are always out there trying to fundraise, and I thought this was a really kind of like out of the box thinking fundraiser to try to, you know, merge two different things that like don't normally go together. Yeah, super creative.
I'd take that over a marchathon any day.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
People are always asking for unique ideas on like the color guard pages too. They're like, we want to do a fundraiser, but it has to be a unique idea. And it's like, there's only so many. All right, everyone. Thanks for a great rehearsal this week. Thank you to our hosts, Cynthia, Ashley, Tom, Stephen, and Justin. Especially to Ashley and Cynthia for being our guest hosts this week. You can follow Ashley at _Ashley, ASHLEY _Tran, TRAN _. And you can also follow Cynthia Bernard at the Less Eclipse social media accounts. It's at LES _ECLIPSES. Next week, we have some pretty great guests, and you are not going to want to miss them. So go subscribe, write us a review, share this with a friend, and we'll see you at the next rehearsal on a water break.
Go practice.